under the Department of Fish and Wildlife. That's part of their program under that department, Mr. Chair. And I believe they're prepared to do the presentation overall. Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Daniels, the report will be provided today under C. So, Honorable Daniels, Abiga here.
Abiga, yeah. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, go ahead, sir.
Did we hear from CPMD or DCD, Dr. Yellowman or Mr. Adakai?
They're on the agenda today.
I didn't hear them on the phone, that's why.
Yes, they have confirmed. Dr. Yellowman has confirmed, so they'll be participating in the meeting.
Okay, just wanted to check. Thank you, Shanta.
Thank you. Any other questions, Shanta? None. We'll go ahead and call for the questions. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote, sir?
Green.
Green. Honorable Stewart. Honorable Kealan Begay is excused. Honorable Walker.
Yes, I vote green.
Honorable Daniels.
Green.
A vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. We'll adopt the agenda as is. We'll go down to reviewing and approving journals. These journals were sent to us from Ms. Woody, and they're for June 3rd, the 10th, the 17th, and the 24th. We would like to have a motion. Shananta.
Motion,
Freeland.
Chair. This is Daniel.
Second, Freeland.
Okay. Honorable Daniels, motions. Second by Honorable Freeland. Any questions? None. Hakushila. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote, sir?
Green, and thank you, Ms. Woody.
Honorable Stewart. Honorable Kealan Begay is excused. Honorable Walker.
I vote green.
Honorable Daniels.
Green. Thank you.
A vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Motion carries. We'll approve the journals from June 3, 10, 17, and 24. Receiving reports. Shananta. If you would like to make a motion to suspend the floor rules, we can go to the one legislation we have on the agenda before the reports.
Chair, I'll motion. This is Thomas Walker.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker motions. Second by
Daniels here. Second.
Honorable Daniels. Any questions? None. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote, sir?
Green.
Green. Honorable Stewart. Honorable Kealan Begay is excused. Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
I vote green.
Honorable Daniels.
Green.
Green. We have a vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Motion carries. We'll suspend the floor rules and go directly to new business. Legislation 0164-20. Presenter, Honorable Paul Begay, who is excused today. We have Honorable Herman Daniels Jr., who will do the presentation this morning on this legislation. So, Ms. Begay, would you read the legislation in for the record?
You have a legislative summary sheet for tracking number 0164-20. The date on it is July 24, 2020. Title of the resolution is the Proposed Nomination Council Resolution and Action Relating to Resource Development Committee, Nabik Committee, and Nomination Council. requesting the National Park Services, Bureau of Reclamation, and Bureau of Indian Affairs to extend the termination date of the Quadrilateral Agreement Memorandum of Understanding dated September 16, 1994, and the Bridge Agreement dated January 13, 2003. The purpose of this legislation is to request the National Park Services, Bureau of Reclamation, and BIA to extend the termination date of the Quadrilateral Agreement, MOU, dated September 16, 1994, and the Bridge Agreement dated January 13, 2003 for 1 year. This legislation is assigned to Resource Development Committee, Navigatia Committee, and the Navajo Nation Council. Prime sponsor is Paul Begay, co-sponsored by Herman Daniels. The document will be fully read into the record when it reaches the Navajo Nation Council. However, all of the exhibits that are referenced in the content of the legislation are attached to the packet, and you could download this copy of this packet from the DIBS, the Navajo Nation Council. The legislation was posted on the council website on July 27, 2020, and the 5-day comment period ended on August 5th, 2020, and there was one comment received, which was an inclusive comment. That comment is attached to your packet. Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you, Ms. Begay. Certainly appreciate you reading the legislation. Honorable members of RDC would like to have a motion.
Chair, I'll motion.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Second by Honorable Freeland. Thank you. Honorable Herman Daniels Jr., you have the floor, sir.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair of the Resources and Development Committee, the members of delegation, and I see Chair Arunana Baba Shani Arunana. Before you have legislation 0164-20. Advisor the purpose back in 1994. Peterson, he was the president for the Navajo Nation. Memorandum of understanding is between the Navajo Nation BIA and National Park Service. Memorandum of understanding. I don't understand now what 2003. Agreement. Bridge agreement. But what was agreed on back in 1970, the Quadrilateral Agreement. This year, September. September is next month. It's going to be 50 years. 50 years of it. So in the 50 years, so we should change the I don't know if my agents the chief chapter president, I don't know if he's on the line, Jerry Williams. I don't know not this on chapter president, Lenigi, Mr. Hank Stevens. I don't know if they're on the line. So so it is the agreement. 1 mile buffer zone. No, I don't know. So there's two areas. Parcel A and Parcel B. Parcel A, mainly it's a Chi area. Around Nagay Page, Arizona, Aronana, Parcel B, Yago, Nana, Nagay, all the way down to OJ2, Mexican Head, Utah, Arch, a Parcel B, so A hot I bet, Anigita be call. So A, Aronana could have been Hodesh, could have my agents, could only be Jiggy. If they're not on the line, A could on Nagay, Yego, A, Nastida, Nagay, the last term, could on Nagay, the former council delegate to Shoni Sklenda, so done it down a could have LDA, Aronanak to the state, Aja Paul became LDA, a Angela Cody, a Diego Yanash, Steve. I don't know if you have any questions, a DOJ there on the line as well, could on the radar on or let it go. So Mr. Williams or Mr. Stevens, if you're on the line, how he dash could Idiot chair.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. So do we have Mr. Willie on the line or Mr. Stevens? Mr. Jerry Willie? Mr. Hank Stevens? Honorable Daniels, you want to give the floor to Ms. Angela Cody?
Yes, yeah, please. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Angela Cody, you have the floor.
Good morning, RDC members, Chair, Mr. Nance, I have worked with the chapters since becoming LDA for Delegate Paul Begay. But the chapters, since the change of council. So we have had 9 chapters at the table all the time and doing amendments. So what we did was we reviewed a lot of agreement with them and the reasons for the agreement, how it was and why those agreements are in place and how it affects, some of the a lot of it is economic development and then also the recreation activities. And DOJ has been at the table also really leading a lot of these meetings without apologies. But, we could have been in the final stretch of negotiating, I guess, if it was normal days. But because of the pandemic, all these activities, we just, now we're up against the day. So the chapters really feel like they need to come back together. There's still a lot to be discussed and put into the agreement if there should be another agreement. And there was other, at the NABI meeting, there was other requests from the chapters to find out some information regarding, they had their request to DOJ to answer some of these questions. So there's ongoing meetings also on the side with DOJ regarding, some of the questions that pertains to this agreement. But all in all, right now, the chapters are passing resolution in support of this legislation. So, 1 year, to really come up and go through with the negotiation correctly is their request. So, yeah. So, I just want to put that out before you, and there are other programs too that are part of all these meetings that we do like natural resources and Navajo Parks and Recreation, and then also economic development. And there's, we have Navajo Nation programs that do come to our meeting too. So it's a really collective effort and trying to, put forth the best planning and benefits that would, be in this agreement. So it's a really positive group that we have. So thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Ms. Cody, for that. Do we have a Department of Justice on the line that could expound on this briefly? DOJ?
Yate, Chair. This is Roderick Begay, Attorney General with Chapter Unit, Navajo Department of Justice. Good morning to you, Chair, and members of the committee and others that are on the phone call. I don't have much more to add than what Ms. Cody reported, except that what I would like to inform the committee is that the Economic Community Development Unit of DOJ is the lead legal entity for these renegotiations. And how we've structured it is that myself, as a member of the chapter unit, will be soliciting and comments from the chapters and trying to provide advocacy and input on the chapter's behalf for these renegotiations. And so on a 30,000 foot level, we're addressing the renegotiations of these agreements. But this separate legislation to extend, the 1 year, that really is a policy matter. Even if the Navajo Nation approves it, that we really don't know whether the other side is willing to do the same. But we're not. DOJ's really hasn't wouldn't be able to provide any more commentary than that. Again, I'm more of the advocate for the chapters, and I plan to be meeting with the chapters, and I think that Catherine Belzowski, she's the acting Assistant Attorney General for Economic Community Development Unit. She had planned to provide a report at the Western Agency Council meeting, which was postponed. So I think that there's still a need for not only her to provide an overall update on where the status of everything is, but also, I need to, again, also set forth meetings with the chapters themselves. So those are all in the early planning stages at this point. And so that's the only thing I would add to, Delegate Daniels' presentation and also Ms. Cody's, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Begay. Let me go back to Honorable Daniels.
Thank you, Chair. Kodo, Adonana Kodo. Oh, you go a Kodo a Bahat of the Kodo. The 50-year agreement, the Kodo, Adonana Kodo, 50 years. Right now, 50 years is way too long. Kodo, not that. But because of the reason why I say that is because every year we're growing. Yeah, Navajo Nation population. We're growing every year. I don't know. In the areas of recreation, I don't know others. So the Glen Canyon Recreation Area. One Hitahan could order basically as a day and had an consider could in fashion a year that is Arunana could ye got them to that case. I will let it find a way from the thought in the areas of recreational economic development at that area. You go a year go there's a potential could only great area along the San Juan River, along the shore, or you go equal Babansa kids go cut the shit out, cut it, hey, yeah, charge the net can't go. So Arunana could on a day, even the 1 mile buffer zone that I think could 8 or yeah, maybe Arunan 3,720 feet. So I did equal to 3720. So I na very British shape at 37 the Christian to 10 that should a yanako. So 8 that quick 8 or a go equal to ish alcohol. So the great I see could a shadow a coordinator shadow a could papa yes or less. Should the Nekodo I think that equal but the big papa is stated because the very eye and the kid naturally your aircon they can see that seed and down take off their kitty and down I think it's a bad equal. So it is yet I don't know what that said. I'm gonna give some time to Mr. Williams because I have to answer the I believe he's on the line now because Chair. It is thank you.
Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams. Nanta, RDC, do you have any questions?
Chair.
None?
Chair. Freeland, just a comment.
Go ahead, Honorable Freeland.
First of all, I want to thank Honorable Paul Begay, and of course his predecessor, Honorable Tashoni Slim, and Honorable Herman Daniels for sponsoring or co-sponsoring this legislation as well. Angie, thank you as well. This is a real important legislation, I think, and it has my support and understanding the severity of what's going on out in the Western Navajo, especially around the Chi and Navajo Mountain area, Shanto, and how to our people out there. I think at some point a leadership meeting or even going as far as talking to the National Park Service, what do we need to do to remedy the situation? What options can we look at to in a way to so it won't affect our chapters and our people, more importantly. But just a suggestion, Shnata, at some point maybe a leadership meeting, talk directly to the service. I know Honorable Paul Begay had mentioned that before, but I think as RDC we can ask for that and ask for some discussions with Park Service on this agreement. And Shinagi, what he said about the 50-year agreement is too long, and that's a concern. And I think we need to do our best to help him and help Honorable Paul Begay, and of course help our people in that area. So just to let you know, Shanta, maybe a suggestion at some point, a leadership meeting with maybe the chapters and DOJ and the Park Service at some point, maybe a preliminary meeting to get ourselves together, organizing, and then we can have another follow-up meeting or conference with the Park Service directly. That way we're all on the same. Eddie, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. We will definitely schedule a leadership meeting for understanding of this quadrilateral agreement. So, thank you. Any other questions or comments from RDC?
Chair.
Yes.
I finally got on. Jerry Williams.
Okay. Mr. Williams, you have the floor, sir.
Okay, it's not Tony. Ado, Chair, RDC, the committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you guys again. Chapter Ado ad asin so ya ni kes na hosne. Ado iba hun tenigi so da so ni kes na aita. Ahadin ada Bahun Tong Hahodji 23rd Navajo Nation Council. They had a resolution to look at this quadrilateral agreement. So, Shinat Ani, Mr. Daniels, media Sayan Hasna, Kashin Sagoya, they had at least Ani to the Hunst Ishin Reda, Sweet Sani, which is not even leaned it. She saw a Yinel Anit Ashin, Kashin saw Yen, saw it 80 Dayadas Tito, Kashin saw a they had at least. Although still had the Shiko, Kadeya, the no. Additionally, 54, 55-year-old agreement in Itachi that help they had at least. Toka could have nasty was just called Kadeya Sahot on Zikis, or Sahot our the Nila. Ben Nigeria, Kashin and Lenigi. Machine Sogo Aya, Hot Cotton Lenigi, Bishop Ela. Although a quick up a day. A co Hashim Sogo Lake, Tito Hashim Soy up the Alay lesson. They have their own views, their own opinions. A Codi has shown those Nisto has shown those. Could hold the sheet out in the read of on holds this word in a different stage. The call the Nago area has always been Nispa, but indeed Nis. At all agreement to give about 20-25 years in Yago. Make it shorter, quite benani and eat on this. Fishing right iron, the kiss. According to all the young to the dawn, the way the three son in living, Kashin saw you nash. Though, but nash no a young naso, but not even shot there or not even. We don't want them kids to say what were these people thinking 20-25 years ago. I should tell a young, in such a case, I could out that she lana than his need on this. Ben Nago, I tell you know, bodies, me so, I tell how much it is. I don't know it be banana slot on this. Maybe I should not on it, 3720. That's the lake level. I don't stay in the Navajo and hold need it. Although the sneeze at the lake is 3720, Ben hold need it. But the dam is 3715. Kohadete. Allah would see the scene the Israeli is straight out. Although in the 1 mile that Ninigi or Bedan keep his on alle these National Park Service has to say it's okay. Duplicate of service is never gonna. Ishina Slagin Hido Hotel, the Hido Ben Hot and then Hadden. So if they happen to build a hotel, we can't build a hotel that 1 mile. What are inch what are Robinson? Although in the deep 1 mile, it goes all the way around the south shores of Lake Powell. That's a lot of land. Kayato, are you the hospital Hadden? Jonas ato John Aliago. Yeah, position in Shinatani. And A, partial B, Danoya Yadaski. Ko National Park Service and National. Ko a while back in the 1837. The 23rd Navajo Nation Council. It don't on souls, but also not on it to show Slim to DC law, emergency legislation. Parts of this were in there. In the Washington DC National Park Service, which in the letter President Russell Gay. Washington DC, the way page the National Park Service, in China, Ila say halate out. Could it on Kida, Washington, the couldn't Kida. Then here, see, no, and he is all say. In the out on the being halate out, it need be. Ila ban so case and kit up neither. The old say, couldn't not all cause. Adobanda in the National Park Service. And he could that the least know what it I not can hate and that Johnson or the other another lady, African American Abraham Davis in there. A lot of the communities were working with those two attorneys. The area at sheet of so nana in there. So kade yasa gana ki a konat on national and the way that can be shared out labor spouse and that able for sheet I hasn't it on since that's not on it. Called being hit chapter here quick ya. Dan Haselado inscription house Kaibito Navajo Mountain on J2. Although Yago told him, you don't see much Colorado River, the Colorado River downstream. Horseshoe Bend on the Navajo Bridge, that's half of Navajo. But then I thought the chain that on right after. Wait, the Hajonel in or stop. The late Ed said, oh, one, this case, she's not on it. Ko kunstagoya hospital lesto kunstagoya shaho agiba kensun not on a chair or in the RDC ko treat out and hard or see so treat out a job that we risking so it wants this case or get
Mr. Williams Kithasan Lagi Chair you have RDC members any other comments questions. If not, we'll call for the votes. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote, sir?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Kealan Begay is excused. Honorable Walker?
I vote green.
Honorable Daniels?
Green.
A vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. Thank you very much. And we're still on new business, Kudo. So we'll go down to approving a leadership meeting on the One-Stop Shop initiative with Navajo Nation Land Department, General Land Development Department, Minerals Department, OPVP, DOJ, and Division of Economic Development. Is there any dates recommended? Friday, go Shabiga.
I can't do Friday, Chair.
Okay. What about Monday or Tuesday?
Monday's fine for me.
Tuesday, okay?
Tuesday, arigato.
Tuesday's good.
Sure, this is Thomas. I can do Monday and Tuesday.
Okay, good. So I believe we can do Tuesday then. Monday or Tuesday. Ms. Begay, would you schedule either one of those dates? July 10 or 11.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I believe you have two that's coming on the agenda. We could schedule Monday for the one-stop shop, and then Tuesday, leadership meeting with NECA. Would that work for you all?
Motion.
Here you go.
And that would take care of B and C item on your agenda. We could do Monday for one-stop shop,
Okay.
and then Tuesday for NECA.
Abiga here, Shananta. Good. Would like to have a motion.
Motion, Chair.
Honorable Freeland, motion, second by
I'll second, Chair.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, seconds, that we'll have our one-stop shop on Monday, the 10th. Any questions? None. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart? Honorable Kialam Begay, excused. Honorable Walker?
I vote green.
Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Honorable Stewart? We have a vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Motion carries. We'll have the one-stop shop on the 10th Monday. B, approving a leadership meeting with NECA. The date proposed is August 11, 2020. Motion.
Chair, I'll motion.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, motion. Second by second.
I'll second Chair Daniels.
Honorable Daniels, any questions? None. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote, sir? Honorable Freeland? Honorable Stewart? Honorable Stewart? Honorable Kialan Begay is excused. Honorable Walker?
I vote green.
Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Let me go back to Honorable Freeland.
Green, Chair. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Honorable Stewart? We have a vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. We'll have NECA's leadership meeting on the 11th. So thank you very much. We'll go back to...
The Chair?
Yes.
Before you go back to reports, can you add your leadership meeting with Nomination Department of Justice on the Quad Agreement so we can take care of that as well? If you add that to under new business and approve a date, then we can also work on scheduling that.
Okay. Sunant, I would like to have a leadership meeting on the quadrilateral agreement with the Department of Justice. And Mr. Roderick Begay, could you provide us a date, sir?
Mr. Chair, the 14th or the 17th and 18th is available.
I would, Chair, I'll work with the committee schedule.
Okay. I believe the sooner the better. So Shananta, RDC member, is the 14th okay? Honorable Walker, Ashbiga.
Yes,
The
that will
14th.
work. Yes, that will
Honorable,
work.
okay. Honorable Freeland, Ashnabiga.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. Honorable Daniels, Biga Hush.
Abiga. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Since we're in agreement with that, we'd like to have a motion.
I'll motion, Chair.
Motion,
Freeland.
Chair.
Honorable Freeland, motion, second by
Daniels.
Honorable Daniels. Thank you. Any questions? None. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote, sir?
Green.
Honorable Stewart.
Green.
Honorable Kiel and Begay is excused. Honorable Walker.
I vote green.
Honorable Daniels.
Green.
We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Motion carries. We'll have the leadership meeting on August 14th on the quadrilateral agreement with DOJ. Thank you, Samantha.
Chair. Chair.
Yes.
Quick question, Chair. What time do all these meetings start? At 10 a.m.?
Pretty much, yes. If
10 a.m.,
we
sir.
could, 10 a.m. Did you want one earlier?
If we could do earlier, that would be good. That way we can get them out. I don't want to say out of the way, but I like to start early if we can.
Okay. So how early? 6 in the morning?
I second that.
How about 9
o'clock?
o'clock? 9 o'clock would work.
That would work for all of us. 9 o'clock is good for all of them?
All three of them will.
Okay. Ms. Begay, could you request leadership meetings for all these at 9 o'clock?
Okay, make sure everybody's on the line by 9 o'clock. The sooner we get it done, your
Thank you
schedule
very
would
much.
be.
Okay. We'll go back to receiving reports. A, update report from CKP Insurance relative to the PRF program. Presenter, Renelda Begay, Native American Resource Director, and others from CPK. Ms. Begay?
Yeah, thank you for
floor.
having us on today.
Go ahead.
Am I not on mute no more?
Chairman, before she goes start her presentation, I just want to confirm to see if you all received your meeting presentation document.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Yes, we do have it.
Okay,
All
good
right.
enough.
Thank you, Ms. Renalda Begay.
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you for making time for us to present on the policy and how Navajo Nation is doing. I want to introduce my boss, Mr. Chuck Hemphill. Chuck, are you on the line?
Yeah, yep, I'm on the line. Can you all hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Chuck.
We can hear you.
Okay, good. Yes, hi. Thank you very much for having us join you all today. It's too bad we can't be there in person, but this is a new way of doing things, I guess. Yeah, we wanted to let you know how the program's going. I think really we have nothing but good news for you all today. The program's performed very well so far this year. In fact, probably the best of both scenarios. We're making some money in the program, which we'll get to in a second, and we really haven't had terrible drought conditions either. So sort of a little bit of best of both worlds happening right now. I don't remember what everybody remembers from last year's renewal, but we had a premium of $16,249,764. So if you look at the first page of the report, you will see that we start to receive benefits every 2-month interval. So January, February, at the end of February, we know how much benefit we receive, and it starts to pay our premium back. So in January, February, we received $3,202,485. February, March, we received $213,253. Both of those, of course, were applied towards our premium. March, April paid us $369,037. And April, May paid us $29,277. May, June, which is now completed, that hasn't been made official by the USDA, but we know the number already, is $18,828,304. So May, June's interval finished paying our premium off, so we have no more premium obligation to pay. We won't have to make a premium payment this year. And it put us $6 million and change to the good. Then June, July, which just completed, we were going to receive another $2,869,469,000 for June, July. That's going to make us up $9,259,942 so far this year. Now, the really good part about that is we're up $9 million, but we still have 4 intervals to go, including our second largest interval, which is October, November. If you look down there, you'll see we have the potential, not that we want no rainfall during October or November at all, but if there was no rainfall during those 2 months, we'd receive $21 million. So it's one of our largest intervals out there. So to have already paid our premium, be up $9 million, and we're really essentially halfway through the year, puts us in a very good position for finishing the year on a strong note, and we're already up $9 million. The overall, how we've done in the program is the next report, just showing every single year what we've done. The very first year of participation in the program was 2017. We received $17,386,456 that year, that policy year of 2017, after our premium was paid. $28 million the following year for 2018. 2019 was a wet year. We actually did not make any premium. We didn't make any money that year. And in fact, we actually paid a premium of $6,905,000 in that year. This year, we're, like I said, up $9.2 million presently, with approximately $35 million of potential benefits still to go. Total, however, for the time frame up to through June, July, the Navajo Nation's up $48,020,409. So certainly over the 4 years, it's been pretty good to us. Questions?
Sunanta, honorable members of RDC would like to have a motion and a second before we ask questions. Motion.
Chair, I'll motion.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, motion. Second by. Is there a second? None. I believe our honorable members of RDC is having technical difficulties.
I'm back on, Chair.
Okay. We'd like to have a second established.
I'll second, Chair. Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, thank you. Do you all have any questions, comments?
Chairman, this is Delegate So. Can I have a question when it gets to me? That's all.
Sure. Freeland.
Yes. Let me go to Honorable Otto So.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I don't know, the members of Resources Development Committee. I don't know. I did Dash Hammy and Shema. So I did recorder and then again the morning. No, yes, now. For CCP, I just like to get to hear your voices again. Sit, get to hear your voice. Vanelda, I know Chuck, get to hear your voice again. It's been a while.
Thank you.
And I always as the CKP came to the nation that in 2017, we're all on board and believe unanimously that we had 2 delegates that voted against it, but at the end, we have these type of positive influx of the payments that or the revenue that's generated off this drought insurance. One thing is that I guess on the report, if you could, Chuck, email me a presentation so that I am aware of what's going on there as part of Navajo leadership. That's one area. The other is that right now we're at you're indicating we're about at 2.9 million at the 9.2 million to the end of this summer season, and I believe is there any effect to that market related to COVID, to the pandemic that's going on? Is there any effects that would happen that's in place? Literally, with the information that you gave us, that I have quickly jot down, it looks like there's not much. It don't look like there's a COVID factor in there related to the revenues being generated. So that's all that I was inquiring on, because to me it looks like that it don't affect it. So that's just my thought. I just wanted to see what your standpoint is from our partner in the Navajo Nation. That's all. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question. Yes, thank you for the question. You're correct. There is no effect from COVID other than the fact that it prevents us from coming out and seeing you all personally. But as far as impact on the benefit, it has none. It's purely a program that's based on the amount of precipitation that we receive across the lands of Navajo. So no effect there, other than I think we're hoping maybe we'll be able to schedule an in-person meeting in September. So I guess that depends on how COVID goes and if that's possible or if it has to be later on.
Honorable Freeland.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, staff and everyone and presenters on this call. I was going to ask for any written material. I wish we could see this in a PowerPoint presentation or look at it visually. It's kind of difficult to, of course, we can hear it over the phone orally, but it's a little bit more, I can put things together if it's more in black and white and visually, because this is real important, and really looking at the current situation or the status and where the policy is going. We want to make sure that we maximize as much as we can, and thank you, Chuck, as well for the continued updates and partnership as well with the nation. Look forward to any materials if you can send to us or send to our advisor. That way we can get a better grasp on the situation in which you had just reported or presented as well. Eddie, Chair, just a request. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Could you respond, sir?
Yes, I believe we sent the 2-page report, although I don't know that we got it out until earlier, or early today. So I apologize on the time frame. Kind of didn't know we had the meeting in time to get it out a week or so ahead, which might have been better for distribution. But there is a 2-page report that is out there. I was given the numbers from. So I'm hoping that will make its distribution to everybody. But we could also try to send it out to everybody individually if that's a preferred option.
Sir, could you resend that information, a written report again to RDC, please? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Shananda, members of RDC, any questions? Or
sure.
Members of the 24th Council? Go ahead.
Sure, I'm sorry. This is Freeland again. I'm up here at Herfino. Right next to us is an alfalfa field. And I was driving by, I see how green it is out there. You know, how nice this area is when it comes to the nasty field. Would it be possible for the insurance, the policy to insure or other crops on NAPI? Been discussed or has ever been met?
Actually, it was discussed recently about us doing, because alfalfa can be, it's one of the crops that can be. Most crops can't, but any hay crop can be insured as well. We were actually supposed to get together in March with them, and I think that's when everything started shutting down. So we've kind of been on hold on being able to get back together with them to get the proper information and be able to do this for them, because you're right, it's just as beneficial for, it will be just as beneficial, although on a smaller scale, for them on their hay fields.
And I look at how they're doing, it looks like they're doing really well, because I've seen semi-trucks, and a lot of them are headed for Texas. And yesterday, actually, one of the trucks caught fire on 550. But those things are coming and going consistently, those flatbed semis. So I was thinking if there was a way to have that discussion chair with maybe Mr. Zeller and the NAPI board, and of course, I can see what we can do to restart those discussions again. Eddie, yes, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. We certainly can set up a separate leadership meeting for that. Nanda. Any other comments, questions?
Chair, this is Daniel.
Honorable Daniels, go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Arandakodo, RDC members. Adonanakodo, Shanandakodo, Tahuitago, Inoshplagidonan, Shiki, all the people that are on this line, Kodo, Adonan, OPVP, Ajeso, English. I don't know. I appreciate the report has been given to RDC members. What I would like to ask is, what's the forecast like on the insurance payments to the Navajo Nation? I know that we're still in this drought stage. Just recently, out there on the Navajo Nation, we've been lacking rainfall, and a lot of these windmills, a lot of these earthen dams, they're all dried out. So I'm just wondering what it's like the insurance payments to the Navajo Nation. I don't know about before the pandemic, we used to get a report from Department of Agriculture as well, Navajo Nation, and Mr. Ferdinand Nota, and also Mr. Watchman. We take insurance, and also Navajo get to give a report to RDC and also the Navajo Nation Council. So that anybody, I just have that question for the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels, for your question. Sir, could you respond?
Well, our program delivers the funds, and their, of course, the distribution of the funds out to the communities is done through the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. And as pointed out, Ferdinand, I think usually does the update as to where the program is as far as distribution of funds and where things are going. I would probably echo his sentiment that things were a little drier the last 3 months. That's part of the reason why we received the 18.8 and the 2.8, because things did get a little bit drier there, although I think here recently now we're starting to get some monsoon rain, which is probably good for us. So yes, the money's coming in, and its mechanism for distribution is the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund through the Department of Ag. Although I don't know if they were on the agenda to give a report as to the expenditures of the funds.
Honorable Daniels, do you have a follow-up question?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, that's the question that I had. But there's other questions throughout the Navajo Nation that people are wanting to get an answer, like for the grazing officials throughout the Navajo Nation. I know that the Navajo Nation Department of Agriculture, they have projects like windmills and dams and whatnot. So I'm just wondering, this will be to the Department of Agriculture, how much of those dollars have been expended, have been used on these projects, and how much of the dollars are just sitting there. So that's the question that was posed to Navajo Nation Department of Agriculture. So it is the chair spot. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Do we have the Department of Agriculture on the line? Mr. Watchman?
I think Leo might be on the line.
Mr. Watchman? Roxy? Ms. June?
This is Roxy June. Yes, I'm on the phone.
Would you respond, Ms. June, please?
As far as expenditures, I don't have that information. That's managed by Ferdinand. However, they do provide reports to Budget and Finance. So what I can do is see if I can get a hold of one of the reports they provided to Budget and Finance and send you a copy. And I believe they just reported to Budget and Finance yesterday or today, so they should have a updated spreadsheet.
Roxy, the Budget and Finance meeting was canceled, and it was rescheduled to the 10th.
Mr. Chair, Leo Watchman here.
Okay, Mr. Watchman, go ahead, sir.
Basically, I think, thanks for the question, Delegate Daniels. The Navajo Nation Council approved the expenditure plan, and there's a year one and a year two. The year one is around $17 million, which we had reported maybe about 3 weeks ago that we had expended around 23% of the 17 million. And I believe Mr. Tarek had mentioned as well, the bulk of the money is in water, but there's a difficulty with capacity and employees, the COBIC and so forth, that pretty much marginalized our expenditure efforts at this point. The second year of this fund is 19 million. And that has not been spent because we're still running on our first year of the appropriation. The combined amounts that are sitting there, and Mr. Hinfield basically reported that the nation has received roughly around $48 million. If you look at minusing out any of the premium obligations annually, that's just basically the net. So right now, as Mr. Hinfield had reported, we had $9 million that has been unspent of the first 4 years of the program. and there's an additional $9 million after the premium that's going to be available once, probably about 90 days from now. So at this point, in terms of unspent monies, and we will be coming back to the committee for authorization to look at expending dollars, roughly anywhere from 9 to additional $9 million from the second year unspent to the fourth year. So that's a little update. Essentially, there was a report, and I did email some stuff to Sammy, Ms. Begay, sort of giving some highlights for some of the things reported. And it is detailed in there. It was about 3 different items, and hopefully she can distribute that for me and answer your question, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Watchman. Chairman,
I have a question. Delegate So.
Honorable So. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I guess looking at the amount of acreage that we have selected on the current plan, and if the nation starts to sit back at the table to look at additional areas that we want to cover additional land, what is the approximate ratio of acreage to cover if we're gonna start talking about covering more areas that possibly don't see much rain, and that way I know it's going to cost more for the nation additional to the premium cost, but to try to start looking at the maximizing where we could try to get these things done related to where the project, where the rain, it hardly rains. Like for instance, right now on the current plan that the Navajo Nation is on, we have identified areas up in northwest of Gap, north of Gap, lands up there, and that and that's another internal discussion with the Navajo Nation that I want to have continue to have a conversation. But there's additional, I think, acreage that we could try to cover up in that area where that area really sees very, very little rain. Even in the community of Cameron area, this receives a little bit rain, but just figuring out what is the acreage ratio of ensuring additional rangeland so that the nation could possibly try to expand on its insurance. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable So. Sir, could you respond?
I could take a stab at it, Mr. Chair. Leo, I'm sure Mr. Henfield, Chuck could also. But just to put it in a nutshell, the Navajo Nation roughly has about 17 million, acres of land. But this program is grazable land. Currently, we are insuring about 11 million. If you look at Navajo Nation, there are other lands that have other forms of ownership. And this particular program, you either have to present ownership through a deed or a lease. So if you look at Navajo Nation, we have some tribal ranches that are leased, so we couldn't use those acreage. And we have some other lands that are other status, like allotments and other forms of ownership that, even though we administer them, we could not put them as a part of this lease program. However, there is probably anywhere from, I would say, a little over 1.5 million to 2 million of acres that possibly could squeeze in for more acreage. It's just that we have not did the mapping. It's probably the best way to describe it. And yes, our premium would go up, but it wouldn't go up immensely because it would be just over 1 million as opposed to 11 million we currently are insured right now.
Thank you, Mr. Watchman. And members of RDC, any questions, comments?
Chair.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair, and members of the committee, staff, and other the audience, other presenters. And then Mr. Watchman from Department of Agriculture. Thank you for the information through this report, and thank you for the documents also. So going back to what Honorable Daniel's questions on the expenditure side. So we are on the receiving side of, these funds that we're talking about through the drought insurance. So we're the receiving end, and then the nation, and then the communities. It's so important to see that connection. The premiums, funding that goes towards the premiums, paying the premiums, then the return through the policy, the expenditure, and then on the receiving end, what is the impact? What is the impact? That's what our people, our community, our constituents would be most interested in, especially the ranchers and farmers. So we can talk about funds and policies for a very, very long time, of course, and find ways to maximize our Navajo dollars and maximize the returns. But locally, where that money's going, what's the impact? What effect does it have? I'm sure it's beneficial, but until you see that connection, you see the benefits being applied or those outcomes, then you begin to appreciate quite more. Then you're in a position, if you're in a position to advocate, policy change or investment, continued policies like through insurance, then that's what you do. But if you don't have that part about how the benefits work, or if there are even any benefits, then you don't know. So I guess we could have another meeting on this matter as far as the expenditure part with our Department of Agriculture chair. So I would make those comments and say that we make it a point to request a maybe even a leadership meeting or another report. I don't want to sound like, well, we're in a meeting that we're just asking for more reports. I think this is really, really important. We need to see the complete picture. So I make these comments and I leave it to my leaders to discuss it further. But thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Mr. Watchman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the comments. Hopefully you got, there were 3 different reports that we put together in addition to what CKP put out there. But overall, of the 17 million of the first year, there were items in there, and I get the main 2 programs that have got most of the money is agriculture and Department of Water Resources. I think Water Resources got about a little over close to $6 million. And I believe they reported, and basically what they're saying, they're going to be working on 333 windmills throughout the Navajo Nation on a priority list, plus purchase and also hire folks, staff to do dirt take clean outs and also fix windmills. That's sort of the bulk of that. Within the part of ag, and we can report on this, and that what do we spend in about 4 categories, mainly 4 categories. There's an incentive. Basically, the incentive is to encourage people to sell their livestock, basically come down to a capacity or stocking rate or their grazing permit allowance. And with that, we're doing a bonus payment after the sale. So if they went to the sale barn, they'll receive a bonus on top of that, and it ranges from anywhere from $200 to $50, depending on what kind of livestock. We did budget around $500,000, and currently we have spent and have paid out to Navajo individuals throughout Navajo roughly about $263,000. There's the horse reward program, which had got some notoriety recently, but that had basically been budgeted almost a similar thing. Basically, we've spent around a little over $300,000 within that program the past year and a half. It was funded around $480. Those are sort of direct things out in the community. And then there's an incentive or a supplemental feed, and that had some challenges. And one of the big challenges that when the pandemic hit, a lot of suppliers basically closed down. So we had to revert from buying actual tub supplements to just individual payments. And I think there has been some report, and we can report on that. But roughly we have paid around a little over 1,100 Navajos that basically submitted through their grazing official a stipend. Is basically a stipend for them to reimburse them. So it ranges from $175 to $750 depending on their allowance on their grazing permit. And lastly, it's mainly the technical assistants have been out there, and our conservation corps has been working in a lot of communities and have helped in many areas. So I do hear what Delegate Walker is saying. We also, in reference to what are you doing and how's it impacting the communities, we haven't really had too much publicity on that, and that's one thing we're probably lacking. But the last area is that we did put together a drought relief mitigation budget, and we put it together, presented it to on our end in terms of the executive branch. Within that proposed document is sort of trying to get out monies to the chapter communities in form of water hauling, as well as hay distribution, as well as our officials. Unfortunately, that hasn't moved along. One of the big reasons is that the recent CARES Act, I guess you could look at there's some duplication of assistance, and I know that has been passed now. So maybe there'll be an effort to maybe take out some of the direct services that are duplicated and move that document along. That basically is to be funded out of this fund, which I mentioned. There's $9 million that's unused, and Mr. Hinfield just reported there's additional $9 million the nation will be receiving this calendar year.
Thank you, Mr. Watchman. And Honorable Vice Chair Walker, do you have a follow-up question?
Itaga, but the response from Mr. Watchman, that's somewhat helpful. So thank you.
Thank you. And any other comments, questions? What about from our honorable delegates, 24th Council? Honorable Brown, Honorable Slater, Honorable Crotty, any questions? Then, yeah, we'll go ahead and accept the report. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote, sir? Honorable Freeland? Honorable Stewart?
I'm good.
How do you vote?
Green.
Okay. Honorable Kiel Begay is excused. And Honorable Walker?
I vote green.
I vote green, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Freeland, did you say green?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Honorable Daniels?
I vote green.
Okay, vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries for the report from the CKP Insurance. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Update report B, New Mexico capital outlay projects and the 90-day extension granted and the New Mexico Tribal Infrastructure Awards. Presenter, Dr. Pearl Yellowman and Mr. James Atakai. Mr. Dr. Yellowman and Mr. Atakai, you have the floor.
Good morning, Chairman Nez and members of RDC. Good afternoon now. So good afternoon. Thank you for having us today. We have several members from Division of Community Development joining me this morning and DOJ. I also have Mr. Atakai here from CPMD, also Mr. Andy Thomas from CPMD. We also have a consultant that has been assisting us, Ms. Shauna Ballet, on the call. And we have been working very closely with DOJ, our EDCU attorney, and making some progress and gains that we'd like to report. Ms. Catherine Bolowski, she may be joined with Ms. Lillian Schwell as well. I also sent a report a few minutes ago through your email, and I'd like to begin with that, and then I'll return back a little bit later for the solid waste. And just to give a quick overview of what we're reporting on, we were requested to give a report on the New Mexico Capital Outlay Project. As you'll see in our report, we have both New Mexico capital outlay projects for House Bill 280. We have a quick report on that, an update from Mr. Atakai and Mr. Thomas. And then we have a newly funded New Mexico House Bill 349 that's also included in the report. There's additional information on the process of what we are hoping to forward on to respond on to these projects. But I'd say Shlinigi a Tana in Shlino to the Sana Bashin, Tobahanda Shiche, Arohanawani the Shanala, Shmai I see Tasana Adenala. I'm working through the Division of Community Development and been here a little over a year, and very, very proud of DCD and Division of Capital Outlay, CPMD. Our staff have been working throughout the pandemic and have been reporting to agency calls as well as providing CPMD updates. We do have some challenges and some barriers that we hope to share with you. And as always, seeking support from RDC. So Chairman Nez, if I can go ahead and proceed. I did send the email. I hope that it was received. And if not, please let me know so I can resend.
Yes.
Dr. Yellowman, I received the document and it's already been forwarded to all of the committee members.
Okay, thank you. I'll continue. So I can just share a little bit of what we encountered last year, or what I encountered coming in last year. Prior to House Bill 280, CPMD had very few projects, or less than 100 projects in 2016, 2017. But with CAP 35-18, they increased with more than 150 projects. And then with House Bill 280, we had a little over 65 additional projects. And then combined, we had chapter. Is that me? And so total, we have a little over 300 projects now throughout 2019 and 2020 with 16 project managers. And then at the same time, just making sure you can hear me.
Dr. Yellowman, we can hear you, but you keep going in and out.
Okay, 1 second.
Perhaps you could just stand still someplace on top of the roof.
Okay, Chairman Nez, 1 second. Let me see if I can get on a better call here.
Okay, we can hear you okay now.
Okay. So I'll speed up here. So total, we have a little over 300 projects with 16 project managers. Easily, they're looking at a load of a little over 25 projects per project manager. And at the same time, our department manager, Mr. Adekai, has been inundated and overwhelmed with producing infrastructure policy and language. And the majority of his time and our time has been dedicated to maintaining the relationship with our state funders, citizen with our leadership, and then chapters, and then creating the language and the forms necessary for those projects to move on. So internally, we've made some changes. Mr. Adekai has dedicated quite a bit of his time to addressing the infrastructure language, and also internally, we have relied heavily on our project managers, and then now to establish kind of a lead project manager, who is Mr. Thomas, Andy Thomas. So Mr. Thomas has been spending quite a bit of his time managing prior projects, but also moving forward on the IDIQ process and addressing House Bill 349 projects. So when I get to those sections, I'll turn some time over to them and to explain where we're at and explaining some of the progress and challenges on those projects. So if we look through here at the PowerPoint here and the report that was shared here, I shared a little bit of our overview and in our current capital outlay projects and our project management support. Quite a bit of our time, again, has been dedicated to 2017, 2019 projects. Our New Mexico projects, as you know, are time sensitive and require quite a bit of communication with New Mexico IAD. And we're thankful that we've been maintaining our relationship with New Mexico's office as well, or Santa Fe. So also in our presentation here, we did share some projects that were on the reauthorization and updated based on House Bill 355. There are some projects here, and Mr. Adekai and Andy can explain a little bit more in detail, but you'll see that there's the Pueblo Pintado power line, Smith Lake, Bow, and Encino. So we have just a little over 10 projects here regarding House Bill 355. And if you have additional questions on these projects, we have Mr. Adekai and Andy on the line as well. I'll move into House Bill 280. 280, there was a little over at the start of the pandemic here for both Senate Bill 280 and House Bill 349, there were a little over 70 projects total. Of those projects, there was some vetoing that occurred, and due to perhaps maybe the state deficit or maybe perhaps due to the pandemic, this listing was shrunk down to 16 projects on Senate Bill 280. No, I'm sorry, there's more. 41. So 41 projects on Senate Bill 280 with a total funding amount of $9,585,000. And then moving forward to House Bill 349, total of, I wrote down 16 projects, a total of 16 projects here, including both.
Dr. Yellowman? Dr. Yellowman? Dr. Yellowman? Dr. Yellowman?
Sorry, Chairman, my phone call dropped. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, I'll proceed here. So House Bill 280, we included the Environmental Department as well as New Mexico Indian Affairs with a total of $11,043,000. And then we included the listing of those projects. I'll move forward, and the current status of those projects currently right now as of this week, the IGAs are being transferred over to the President's office. We're currently working with staff here at DCD on House Bill 349 projects. Again, those IGAs have arrived, and then we will work with OMB and OOC to begin the 164 process. And then when we get past the projects themselves, I did explain a little bit that internally we've established a lead project manager. Mr. Thomas has been a part of CPMD for many years and just an extraordinary, hardworking employee, and has taken the lead on establishing the IDIQ process for us. If you recall, the IDIQ process is the on-call professional services that INDOT has deployed or employed, and it allows us to expand our capacity. So we're right in the middle of that process and seek your support on that. And I'll have Mr. Thomas explain a little bit more about the IDIQ. We also included a flow chart. Once those IGAs are signed and we can begin that process, then we execute, we move in towards the bond execution. And then, of course, we have the 6 months to expend a certain percentage of each of those projects. So I'll have Mr. Adekai give you a quick update on 2019 projects, and then we'll move into the 2020 projects of 349. So if I can turn the time over to Mr. Adekai for a few minutes, he can give a quick update on last year's project.
Thank you, Dr. Yellowman. Mr. James Adekai, you have the floor, sir.
Hello, we are there.
This is Mr. Attica Shananda, Chair and members of the RDC committee, out of staff, for this opportunity. Nashado donen shine na to na khachi bita je thore chini da shi to baare irrational da the national auto the initially capital projects management department already shanan jinstan auto da shi da hil sound na the kitchen hot ide do the coition non stage to and is just the here CPMD do we're reaching out to the chapters by teleconference the same way how we used to conduct project updates for all 5 agencies in person. In the by teleconference, even a chapter. We started the process last month. Although we're continuing the second teleconferences we're hosting this week and next week. So basically, going over the projects that we are monitoring, CFN, year 1, year 2, year 3, auto Mexico projects, and then auto, we're also inviting the lead agents, water resources, and NDOT, and also NTUA and utility companies to also share their updates. And the New Mexico projects 2020 and 2019. It's not really so because of pandemic. It's not state New Mexico. Oh, in our source, Kodo, that man, A 27th, yeah, that A based on HI, a similar role, Hala COVID-19 pandemic. Based on Hadid Chihido, Shadow Nabil Nasha, another the Jaha to respond to COVID-19 or resources. General a justification, not so silly. And then Asho and Hande the Ali, those state legislature is don't get Kaiche, Robishon, and she don't have Nasmilla. A co a unlive Ilya, Asha, Seliko, a co a they which in a home, Hishahina. A co a day, another English solely. A co a for Kat Peso Motagi, Senate Bill 349, that's for 2020 projects. IGAs are starting to come in right now. So we're setting a post-award orientation kickoff session for the chapters that or awarded. We're looking at next Wednesday or following Wednesday, August 12th or the 19th, depending on when IAD will be available. We usually put them on the agenda, and other people, other partners, to go over the process, basically to kind of, have a conversation with the chapters over
the scope of work, the budget, and the timelines. So that way we're all on one page. So ita isne dole. Aro inda eya edi fihe sinido nalsos ekoto to liya. Di tahanes lahibin ahit ada eya eti de nas timeline gidas nas hotol for year 1, year 2, year 3. Ako ato bedat inishidot ahi bedat inishishide yadoli. Ako into bihige ya aja power line asati nalsos. Sihasin legislation bakao through memorandum of agreement into bichhodoli bakao. So we did that for year 1. So year 2, year 3, kabina so kabina to finalize. Nagay into then I don't OJ we've got the budget forms, we've got the language in there, updated information. Bill 164, don't best. Once the money is dispersed to NTUA, that's when the clock starts ticking. 24 months, so 2 months. 2 years. So we update so for your time.
Thank you, Sir Mr. Adekai, Shananta, honorable members of RDC. Let's establish a motion and a second.
I'll motion, Chair.
Honorable Freeland, thank you. Second by?
I'll second. Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, thank you. Nanta Naidos Kiddish.
Chair.
Any question?
Chair, Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Chair Otto, Dr. Yeoman, and Shadakai, and all the PMs on this call. We just got done with our discussion over here. I want to really get an update, or I was hoping to hear of an update specifically for all of our New Mexico projects related to the current projects that are open right now. Because it was made known in Santa Fe recently that the Navajo Nation is currently on the watch. Those were the specific words by Senator Munoz. And anytime that is any sort of statement like that are made, it's a concern because they are looking at all of our projects, and they, of course, get their updates directly from DFA. Now, I've always had issues with the data that DFA gets directly from the nation because it's not precise, it's not current, it's not up to date. I've always had that issue, and I was hoping that, whenever Senator Munoz made that statement that he had up to date, or he had information that was up to date and precise, because DFA gets their information updated every quarter, and they don't see real-time spending that's done by the nation. So looking at all of our capital outlay projects, I'm looking at about 14 pages right now. As of today or this morning, we still have a balance of, actually this was August 5th, we still have a balance of $180,140,181.82. And that is a number that's still sitting there. That, I know a lot of these projects are facing shortfalls. And, chapters, we can't tell our chapters not to go to Santa Fe and ask for money. They have that right and they have that obligation to the community. But if a project is not funded fully, if they go in there and ask for $500,000 and they only get $50,000, that means we have to figure out a way to get them some more funds or seek for more fundings to match whatever their shortfall might be. Now, I know we do have money in the Capital Outlay Match Fund, and I know Mr. Atakai has that ability to, by the stroke of a pen, to approve and say, you know what, we can match these New Mexico project funds and get them done by utilization of that fund that was established by the 22nd or the 23rd Council. And the last update that I got, or we got from the controller's office, that amount was about 4.3 or 4.8. I'm not exactly sure the figure, but it's a little over $4 million. Why not look at utilizing that match fund right away and start clearing off this list and start looking at cleaning up a lot of this list, but making sure that we do close out these projects. Now, after 90 days, I don't know what's going to happen, if a reversion situation is going to occur, if a reversion discussion might start happening. We're going to have to see what's going to happen in the discussions with the interim committees. It could be at Indian Affairs. It could be even the finance, the LLC. It could be any of those committees that start bringing up reversions or asking for how are we going to deal with this COVID situation? How are we going to bring money back to the state budget? Now, these are all, of course, severance tax bond projects. So that's why they left them alone when they had the special session. I'm looking at projects as far back as 16. PMs do update the CPMS. They do update, the website as well. I do appreciate all of their work, and I am glad Dr. Yeoman put Andy in charge. It's a real good move, and I hope that we can get a lot of this list cleared out. But really, I really want to know how we could utilize that, if we have to, that match fund. There's several match fund situations that could occur that we could just get things done right now, right then and there. And I was looking at a memo this morning. I know one of our PMs have brought it up to us, was, looking at a specific match fund that was related, that was dated back in July, a request to you, Mr. Atakai, for $515,000. That's for 4 chapters right there, shortfall requests. Matching these funds and that would really help out these 4 chapters tremendously. One of them is mine. The other 2 belong to the speaker, and one is Honorable Daniel So. But how can we move? And it seems like we should be on all hands on deck. I hate to say that again, but it seems like the state has put us on notice, and the state will be watching us. The state is watching us now, and the state will come after us at some point and start reverting our projects. And what's going to happen is, our chapters and our people lose out. And what are we going to do to avoid that? What are we going to do to avert finding ourselves in that situation? It's really concerning. I bring this up because Senator Munoz is on the Senate Finance Committee, a very powerful committee. They can, at the drop of a hat, take these projects away from us. And if that's going to be the case, what are we going to do to show them that we are spending money, that we are moving these projects, and we're getting stuff done? Once again, we have to prove ourselves to the state of New Mexico to avoid these reversions. And that's really concerning. And I wanted to have this report and ask where are we at, and what are we doing about this scenario that we're facing. Another thing that was brought up was back in September, there was a memorandum that was sent over by the president's office, or the president and vice president, related to the 2020 comprehensive budget. There was a directive in there. Wanted to see if we can get an update, if possible, on the CIP plans. How are we dealing with that directive, or what's going on with that directive as well? We have 55 chapters in New Mexico, and of 3 agencies as well. And, you know, like I said, every one of those 55 chapters can go to Santa Fe and ask for capital outlay money. We can't police them. But what are we doing right now to help them spend the money that they were given? And what are we going to do to avert any sort of reversion situation? You know, we are on notice right now by the state, and I'm really concerned about it. Yes, we were given, projects were put on freeze, but some projects did continue to move. I'm very thankful for Art helping us out with the Crown Point Wellness Center. That one still moved, and it's almost done. We're gonna have, you know, the keys turned over here pretty soon. But others that didn't even get an IGA, or others that didn't get any sort of notice of obligation, or, you know, we didn't even get a chance to get started. We've already lost time on those. And, you know, there's really no clarity from Indian Affairs sometimes. It seems like how we deal with lost time. It's not our fault that they didn't that they froze these projects and we still lost a lot of time. How do we make that time up? And I think that's a question we need to pose to Indian Affairs. We were scheduled to have a state reconciliation meeting before the pandemic and before the declaration had occurred. And I wish we could have a internal reconciliation meeting. I wish we could have a reconciliation meeting teleconferencely over the phone with Indian Affairs. You can request that, Dr. Yellman. You can request that, Mr. Adekai. Even the president, I don't know if you're working with anyone from the president's office, but you just make that request to Secretary Trujillo, and she can get that done by your phone call or an email or a letter. But really, we need to figure out where things stand and tell the state this is where we're moving, how we're spending the money. And that way they get an idea. It's real important at this time, because I don't want these reversions to start happening. And, you know, the Senate did talk about this at length when they were talking about balancing the budget again. Just a concern, Chair, and my colleagues, Iria, Mr. Adekai, and Dr. Yellman, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. You didn't ask any questions. You were just concerned about it and sharing that with us, right?
Well, how are we going to deal with this situation is my big question. What are we doing to prove to the state of New Mexico that we are spending funds? Are we consistently talking to them? Are we communicating with them? Are we proving to them? You know, I think a good resource to have too is to have contract accounting and of course the Office of Management Budget as well involved. But how are we sending real-time data to New Mexico Department of Finance and Administration as well? We need to prove to the state that we are spending these monies. And OOC has all those invoices and has all those checks that have been cut already and has all that real-time spending data. How are we sending that to Santa Fe? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Dr. Yellman, please respond.
Thank you, Delegate Freeland. Thank you, Chairman Nez. Let's go to a page that I'm looking for right here. Delegate Freeland, you've brought up some excellent concern. And, you know, right here in the, in our overview, DCD, we don't work alone, and we can't work alone. We really do have to, really, we rely on OMB. We also rely on OOC. We rely on DOJ and natural resources. We also work with NTUA, Land Department, and Risk Management Department. All of these entities have moving parts, and we have to maintain consistency with these departments and remain in communication with them. So I just want to point that out really quick. I'll have Mr. Edekai and speak a little bit more on the process of the shortfall and the match fund, and then I'll have Andy share a little bit more on the CIP, and then our efforts to avoid any type of reversion. But if anything, it's also part of my role to work with RDC, where this is an opportunity for RDC and really an individual such as yourself, Delegate Freeland, to work with us in regards to maintaining that relationship with the state. In the last year and a half, what didn't exist in the prior administration was, one, the amount of projects that DCD is overseeing right now. What also didn't exist is the IDIQ process. And that's an IDIQ process that we're moving forward on. What also didn't exist is a relationship where DOJ worked collaboratively with our project managers. And I do hope Catherine's on the line, because we've made so much progress in this just year alone with our new EDCU. And I'm very thankful. And those new things that didn't exist now is an opportunity to say, okay, here's a division that is putting these methods in place. If you're asking what are we doing to avoid reversions, or what are we doing to absorb these projects, well, this is our report. One is we've made internal changes. We've made internal changes to put one of our lead project managers responsible for the New Mexico projects. I know that can be a concern for our Arizona projects and our Utah projects, but we really have to rely on our other project managers to step up, and maintain consistency with our other lead, our other state fund agents, such as Utah and Arizona and Citizen. And then we have dedicated our time, Mr. Edekai and my time, to making sure that we have the internal infrastructure language in place. It's literally like paving the road and driving on it at the same time. And that's what Mr. Edekai and I have found coming in the last year and a half, that a lot of the language did not exist. Forms did not exist. Files from the chapters did not exist. And we have to build those up so that they can be shovel ready, or what OMB calls ribbon cutting ready. So while the project managers are moving forward on those projects, it almost feels as though Mr. Edekai and I are on the back stages working on those files so that the language is prepared and our communication with DOJ is intact. DOJ plays a tremendous role in this. Prior to last year, there were quite a few challenges and quite a few barriers, and I truly believe that our staff and our project managers have the expertise and the knowledge of knowing the contracting process and the procurement process and all of the steps necessary to move. And now we're in a place with DOJ where we can expedite these projects, even more so in the last week and in the last month and a half, due to responding to the CARES Act funds. We've been meeting weekly with DOJ to just put in place the infrastructure language. The infrastructure language for the CARES Act funds was non-existent. Everything prior to March 13th related to CARES Act was non-existent. But in order to expand the 600 or even the 714 million, you have to have the infrastructure language in place. And those contracts have to be in place. And that's the backside of the scenario or the situation that you described here. Those documents and those contracts have to be created, and we've been doing that. We've also been working closely with NECA and establishing these relationships. Again, something for whatever reason was not in place prior to last year. I can't say why or how, but there was a limited relationship between NECA and DCD prior to last year. So that's four good reasons shared with you, Delegate Freeland, for it's an opportunity for us to utilize your support right now. Those are four things that were not in place last year, and those are four areas that we're now moving forward on. Even to address the bathroom addition, that language under CJN 47-20 and CJN 46-20, the infrastructure language is non-existent. We have to create those contracts to put in place. And now with our relationship with DOJ, we're able to respond to those. And that's what we're doing. So I just want to share that, and it's helpful information. Also, I was very thankful to attend the DFA meeting last fall, and get a better understanding as to how DFA operates. There is a time disconnect between the nation and DFA. We did extend an invitation for DFA to come to the Navajo Nation. But again, due to the pandemic, some travel was limited. But that is an opportunity for us to begin a direct link and a direct communication between the Navajo Nation and DFA. I'm not sure if that was ever in motion or in progress. That's something that I believe is necessary now. I truly appreciate the Office of the Indian Affairs, but we also had the opportunity to have a direct link to DFA, and I was grateful to meet the folks there and to extend that invitation for DFA to come. They gave a presentation to oversight and to the state representatives and the state leadership. I was able to watch that meeting as a member of the audience, and then asked if they can do the same presentation to our leadership, so that our leadership understands the process of DFA and how we can close the gap between the nation and DFA. So that is a good opportunity that I hope to come back and report and say we're moving on that. So once we're able to open up travel and things are safe, that's something we want to continue on to extend that relationship with DFA. The other thing that's really important that that we're able to respond to these projects. I also was a part of in being able to watch the Water Resource Authority, the Water Resource Board in New Mexico with the president. And I mentioned this on a call last month in May, well, August, 2 months ago in June, when Division of Land and Department of Lands was presenting their one-stop shop. There's also several processes that can change for improvement. Right now, coming into the nation, what I see is, for example, I'll see a project be presented, but the funding is not there, and neither are the clearances, but the project is there, or the concept of the project. Where what I was able to see and observe with the water board was there was a pre-review, and I did share this with members of RDC a while back, but there's a pre-review, and during the pre-review, the project managers review the project and then put in place a mechanism that we don't have right now, but they put in the pre-review, and then they also put in place the funding mechanism. It's very similar to what the TIF board does as well. And what the water board does is it ensures that the projects get completed. We do not have that process in place. I went to Ganado this morning to help celebrate the building being completed, and that started in 2012. The clearances, the concept, and then it's been 8 years, and now that project can now fully be funded for construction. 8 years that this community waited for a senior citizen center, where if we can vet our projects in a way that allows our nation's projects to work towards completion rather than start it with many unknowns, that's kind of where I see what is happening right now. So with your support and RDC's support, there are some changes we like to recommend for how our chapters, and like you said, our chapters, they have such a great relationship in New Mexico, and the chapters are very progressive in New Mexico, which is good. They have a direct communication line. So we have to put in place a better process that allows them to have that relationship with their state representatives, but also guarantee that those projects will be completed. There's some projects right now that got funded through the state, but because of a cemetery and a consent from a neighbor, that's holding up the project, which we could have vetted before with a pre-review. So some of these small, maybe they're minor, but they do hold up the process that we can administer internally. Those are some things that I look forward to working with the Lands Department. I know we've had several discussions on the one-stop shop concept. I really hope that can come to fruition. So, Chairman Nez, thank you for allowing me to respond there. I'm going to turn the time over to Mr. Adekai, who can explain or share a little bit more about the shortfall and the match fund. And then also I have Andy on the line here, who can speak a little bit more to the CIP. I also like to give an opportunity to DOJ EDCU, or Catherine Belowski, who can speak a little bit about some of the upcoming types of contracts and amendments that will assist us in moving on some of our projects. If that's okay, Chairman, to give DOJ a few minutes. Thank you.
Dr. Yellowman, we have not heard from Andy Thomas, so let me give him the floor, and I'll go to to Ms. Belzelski. Mr. Thomas?
Good afternoon, Yate. Che Andy Thomas. Kun Shadow Che na Kudnet Slow. Sinajing Bashing. Kiani Dash Che, Wanavani Dashnale. Le Hoye Doi Specialty. So the Kade project manager in CPND clear Shibana Shinska. Niza a whole Jujo. So for my task, I regarding the IDIQ, my lead role is to, and this is in regards to the CIP, the Senate Bill 218. I know Mark, I know delegates and in the Mexico chapters, we are on the highlight of funding, but it's going to be my priority to work with these in-house project managers with CPND, the existing project managers. As you can see, we've started our department manager has started the monthly meeting with each chapters, especially the eastern side and the northern under the Mexico chapter. So I'm will be assisting project managers in regards to these project fundings, Senate Bill 280s. So I'm going to be assisting these project managers. Example would be like if there's a Baja Senior Center, there's that PM that's assigned to that. I'm going to try to assist that PM to boost the procurement documentation, making sure all the contracts go through to 164, and making sure the number one priority is meeting the 5% notice of obligation, and making sure these funds are encumbered. So that is going to be my task regarding all the Senate Bill 280. Then going into the Senate Bill 349, in your slide, there is we're trying to cut down the IGA agreements. So I'm going to be working with the PMs to streamline all these IGA agreements, making sure they're all consistent, along with DOJ, OPVP, OOC, OMB, making sure we're going to get this, all these projects, all the IGA account numbers, making sure they're all we're all on the same team, on the same page, transparency, and making sure we're shortening the assignments, the dates. Once they're signed, we get signed, and making sure each project manager chapter are aware of when the project starts, 5%, 6 months, making sure we're cutting that, cutting the timeline in half. So, and with this, while this is going on, I was tasked with the IDIQ, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts, meaning there's going to be several firms that will be awarded, that will be contracted with the nation. These firms will assist our department, our division of community development, to assist project managers with CHID and also CPMD to streamline some of these projects. If there's TPAs, clearances, right-of-way, easements, the IDIQ team will be assigned a task order. Task orders will be issued to develop within our department scope of work, what has to be done, and making sure these timelines are completed with the 5%, and expecting them to meet the deadline before the goal, anyways, to make sure we close these projects out. on a timely manner. So I know every several years when these chapters request for funding, we want to make sure we want to close these projects out before the chapters go requesting for additional funds. So it is going to be a challenge, but I'm looking forward to the challenges to get a lot of these projects completed, and also getting all the IDI team firms hired and making sure all projects are closed out. Yeah. So I'll have Mr. Adekai speak on the match funding with capital outlay.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. DOJ, Ms. Catherine Belzowski.
Thank you, Chair. This is Catherine. I really don't have too much more to add to what Dr. Yellowman and Andy and Mr. Adekai have already stated. They've really kind of gone over it, identified a lot of the issues and how they're moving forward. The only thing I would add is, from the DOJ side, someone who's worked with the prior administration and this administration, we've seen a lot of really positive changes at CPMD and DCD in the past couple of years, and we really appreciate, all the work that Mr. Adekai and Dr. Yellowman have put into this shop. I think Dr. Yellowman's assessment in regards to was it paving the road and driving on it at the same time is very accurate. I think CPMD has not had the support in the past to do a lot of their work, and I think that Dr. Yeoman has really provided that to them. So, I'm really happy to see I know the project managers who've been there are hard workers and, have always tried to do the best they can with whatever resources they've had available. So I'm really hopeful seeing having Mr. Thomas work on these projects, just really competent people moving forward. I think there's going to be hopefully a lot of positive change in how fast these projects can be completed. And on the DOJ side to that, I'll just say that we also recognize, our role in this process, and that we're trying to be as responsive and as timely as we can to the, all requests that we get. Well, all requests we get from all our clients, but definitely in regards to these projects, because a lot of them have these deadlines and are time sensitive. So, we have made a point of having weekly meetings with DCD so that we can make sure that, anything that needs our attention in a timely manner, that we're able to give it to them. And then we're also currently working with DCD on creating some Navajo Nation specific contracts. We've been working with them in the sense in regards to CARES Act funding because, we're in the same position as DCD where we're also building our road and driving on it a lot of times because contracts for projects that DCD needs to do don't necessarily exist. And so we've been working on creating those contracts from scratch, but trying to get them done like within a week or 2 weeks so that DCD can turn around and use them. And we hope that this is going to, help streamline the process. Doing all this front work now will help streamline the process in the future and make, our review on our end a lot more efficient as well. So, we just really appreciate all the work that DC is doing, and hopefully, it'll just result in some positive things for all those chapters out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belzowski. Shananta, honorable members of RDC, any other questions or comments? It's 1:05 now.
Chair, Freeland again.
Honorable Freeland, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dr. Yeoman and Ms. Belzowski. I appreciate your response, but I'm still looking for an answer to how we're going to deal with the state's indication they're going to put that, especially the legislators, they're going to put us on notice. The Navajo Nation is now on notice. That's what Senator Munoz specifically said. How are we going to deal with that notice or that statement specifically? Yes, I appreciate all the changes, and I appreciate all of the improvements that you're making. And not to say that, of course I do support you all and what you're doing. It's not easy. It's not easy work because, I was sitting in your shoes at one point as well, not as a division director, but I was holding monthly or even sometimes weekly reconciliation meetings internally. And we did get a lot of projects done. We did spend a lot of money. We had to prove to the state at one time when the state was in a $70 million deficit. We had to prove to them that we were spending money when they were at the doorsteps ready to revert money. So I know how challenging it is, yes. But when a statement is made like that by a very powerful senator, when a statement is made like that, that's directed towards the Navajo Nation, that should be a red flag for us. What are we going to do about it? I know, and the situation that we were in with the pandemic, we lost a lot of time. Yes, but it, just like other issues, these issues don't stop. These issues don't go away. They continue to grow and manifest and grow and grow and grow. Just like the feral horse situation, it just continued to grow even more into an issue right now. These issues were still there, and they're still there right now. But how are we going to deal with Senator Muñoz's statement? And directly, what's our plan? It'd be nice to have a timeline put in place. This is our plan. This is how we're going to do, and this is how we're going to encumber all the funds. And I appreciate Andy for Andy, you have a huge job, a huge responsibility. I hope you're getting a pay raise or some sort of bonus, because you're going to have a lot. You're going to have a lot on your hands, young man. I appreciate you stepping up. But these state monies are there for a reason, and they're given to our chapters for our people, and our chapters through resolutions identify their top 5 specific needs through their ICIPs. And these are done, and they're inputted into DFA system. They're inputted directly into the state system. That's how these projects that's how they get the funding. But it all begins at the chapter level. It all begins through the voting by the people at the chapter level to get these ICIP lists done. And I just want to, I was just concerned because even Patty Williams, our lobbyist, even mentioned that to us during a state task force meeting. That statement was made, and we got to watch out. We got to watch ourselves, because reversions could be a huge possibility. And it's just a concern of mine. And I think as a New Mexico delegate with 8 chapters, but having previously worked with all 31 chapters in Eastern Navajo, but all 55 in New Mexico, I know what they're going through. But how are we going to support them and continue to support them as well? So that's really my questions, Dr. Yellowman and Mr. Atakai and Ms. Bozowski. I worked really closely with your predecessor. We did a great job. We got a lot done. But to say that previously the previous administration didn't get anything done, I don't think I would have to disagree with that. We got a lot done. And, I'm very proud of the work that we did with our team and with the project managers at that time. Everyone that was on board bought into it because we encouraged, we built relationships with people, and more importantly, we supported the chapters. So I do support the system. I support DCD, but how are we going to deal with that statement? So, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland, for your question, your concerns for our communities on the New Mexico side here. And before I go back to Dr. Yellowman, I would like to just say that we really need to have a separate leadership meeting with the New Mexico delegates and really go over all this, not just RDC, but we have delegates from New Mexico that really need to hear this out. So, Dr. Yellowman, could you respond, please?
Thank you, Chairman Nez. We are here, and Delegate Freeland. I didn't imply nothing happened or those words from the previous. What I stated was these were 4 new things that we had to put in place this last year in order for us to move forward and in order for us to respond to the tremendous amount of projects coming in. This division has changed over the years, and it has increased its project listing. I was very fortunate to tour Wilson and Company in Albuquerque, and we have more projects. We have Division of Community Development is no different than some of these larger companies out in the nation, but yet they had the technology, they had the resources for their project managers to move forward on. So in order for us to respond to 300 projects, we have to become a different division, and we have to become a different department. And that's when I reach out to members of RDC and ask for support. I've even called you, Delegate Freeland, explaining to you how we need to make amendments to our plan of operation. We're a different division because we have large amounts of projects that we need to respond to. Part to change our plan of operation so that we can respond appropriately to those. We manage millions of dollars. We need to respond to that. We do not have a senior budget person in our division. We respond to large companies, construction companies. All of those areas we need to expand on. So that's who we are right now this year, in the last year and a half, and it's growing. And by so, the chapters are expanding their knowledge as well. And so I want to continue explaining our plan to you, but also have here Mr. Chaco, Chief Chaco, Chief of Staff, Mr. Chaco, who has a comment to make. If I can turn the time over to Mr. Chaco.
Before we go any further, RDC members. But then, Mr. Chaco, could you please, who's this?
Chair Freeland, I just agree with you on the leadership meeting with the delegates, and maybe even include all the New Mexico legislators as well, both the senators and the representatives, because they need to know. They're the ones that get the requests from the chapters. They're the ones that process the forms to legislative council. They're the ones who advocate for the chapters. And more importantly, seeing when chapters go up and submit their forms, it's really good that they get vetted right then and there by the legislators as well. Asking the chapters, is this project ready? Show me proof. And that's what's going on right now. So it would be great to have the legislators on the call too. Edia, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Perhaps we will schedule it that way and have the legislatures respond to questions, because we do have quite a few representatives that cover the New Mexico area of our community. So, Nathan, if we just could do that, that would be great. Mr. Chaco,
like a flea market all along on my way in. It's like a bunch of people are.
May you, everybody, please put your phones on mute. Put your phones on mute. Hello? Please put your phones on mute. Please put your phones on mute. Mr. Chaco?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Nance, members of the committee. Yeah, I just so happened to be passing by and making my rounds to all the division directors, and I dropped in to see division director Yellowman here. So I just heard some of the conversations going back and forth. Just to go back to Delegate Freeland's question with Senator Munoz, I just so happened to be on the line with him discussing the school opening, also the Marathon Oil shutdown here in Gallup. And just so happened to be talking to him when the discussion came up. I did ask him that question with regards to his concerns. Mainly what he told me was his concern was that in 2019, most of that capital outlay was cash. And he wanted to just ensure that DCD and OCVP were aware that his concern was to see if we can move those projects in. I just told him that we've been moving all these projects along since last year. So, but if he just said that if he can do that, he's fine with it. But I think you are correct. If we can get some of these representatives on the line, that would be fine. I'm in contact with all of them on basically a weekly basis, representatives from Senator Sanchez. But most of them, I call on occasion on certain things and capital projects also. But again, we can, if what Delegate Freeland is asking for timelines and how we're going to move those, we can go ahead and provide that to the oversight committee working with the staff here at CCP. So Senator Munoz was quite comfortable with that answer. So again, Chairman, we are working most of them, and I do have a personal relationship in New Mexico. So they have a concern. They will certainly address that to me personally.
Mr. Chaco, we could barely hear you, sir. Mr. Chaco?
Yes, I have to switch. Can you hear me now, Chairman?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I have to move my chair here. Again, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And like I said, I did talk to Senator Munoz earlier in the morning regarding some other issues, and this issue came up as well. And so I did talk to him, and we discussed how we're going to move these projects forward, as Delegate Freeland mentioned. So, and again, I do talk to most of the Mexico State representatives on a weekly basis on other issues. Again, I have personal relationships with most of them. Do talk on occasion with various programs. So, but Delegate Freeland wants to see if we could have some plans and that sort of thing. We can certainly do that with DCP. Chairman, as we can provide you those plans if we need. We will provide those plans to the committee. But as far as what was explained earlier, again, at NDOT, that's how NDOT was established through. They're an engineering firm, basically. They build roads. It's the same here at DCD. They build vertical, which is building, and there's really no support with regards to professionals that they can rely on to do their work. That's the main thing. That was similar with NDOT. We provided them the ability to have engineering services, all the necessary professionals at their disposal to do road work. This is no different here at DCD. We are now going through that process of providing that service. There is a better way of providing building infrastructure for the Navajo people. So that's what we're dealing with over the past year now. So hopefully with the IDIQ contract that was explained, those can be implemented and readily available for DCD. So if there's any other questions, I'm here to provide that and provide some directives to DCD with their concern. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chaco. We also have with us Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton. Go ahead, ask your questions or comment.
Chair Naz, Otto, Shajado, Vice Chair Walker, for allowing me to ask a question. I've been listening in on this report as it's very important, especially to the New Mexico delegates and the New Mexico chapters. And there has been a lot of concerns that have been coming down regarding these projects. What really concerns me is that, as many of you know, there is no communication coming from our chapter to the delegates and even to the officials. So I want to know how, or if, I guess my main question is that going to be addressed? And I ask that question because these communications is very important, especially with these projects. And when they have due dates on them, we need to get a good understanding of where we stand. And my understanding and working with DCD in the last year is CPMD does not answer questions. I don't know if it's for fear of the chapter here, but I am not getting any communication at all on any project movement, where we stand with our project. And thankfully, in the last 2 weeks, we did have a CPMD update on a lot of our projects. And here in Shiprock, they are all behind. And that is the reason why I've stated on council that I have absolutely I have no belief that DCD is handling any of these issues. And as a result, our chapters are, suffering. Our people are suffering as a result of this. So I have no confidence right now in the leadership of DCD, and I'm working towards legislation to address that. So my question is that communication barrier going to get addressed? Thank you, Shana. And again, these projects, because they have timelines on them, that communication is very important. And we should all be working together to get these projects going instead of having, all of these stalls in communication and not knowing what's happening.
Thank you for that. Before we go back to Dr. Yellowman, Honorable Freeland Yahatziki, in that meeting, we probably will request a meeting through the Speaker's office. And I believe Ms. Cheryl Yazzie is still on the line with us. And they can schedule this leadership meeting through the New Mexico State Representative, as well as the delegates and perhaps some chapters, because the chapter officials are important in this area to understand their projects at the local level. So, Dr. Yellowman?
Thank you, Chairman Ness. Thank you, Delegate Newton, for being on the call. There's quite a bit that I'd like to put on the table so that we could move forward. I know in the past we have had to address certain concerns regarding personnel and communication at the chapter level. And we've reached out to DOJ and continue to do that. There's also some directives to the chapters to remain transparent and to keep those communication lines open. But I just want to share that yesterday was the Northern Agency CPMD update, and Mr. Rory facilitated that call, and that's the second agency area update that was provided in the last 4 weeks. So that was yesterday. And then the week prior to the summer session, Navajo Nation summer session, the week prior to that was another update on the Northern Agency calls. Mr. Atakai also gets on the agency calls facilitated by the legislative branch as well. So those are opportunities where there are some updates provided. So I just want to share that those opportunities are there. I do want to extend direct communication with Mr. Thomas and yourself, Ms. Delegate Newton, for updates on those projects. I also saw recently that there was some changes in the Shiprock projects, and I know recently you went before BNF to address some of those projects as well. So we're actually, I believe, a lot. We're communicating a lot more, and I want to put on the table that we want to communicate further, and I want to extend the invitation for Mr. Thomas to provide some direct communication with you on those projects and guidance. He's assisting us on the New Mexico projects. As we stated earlier, those are time sensitive and really require communication and maintaining follow-up and follow-through because of the timelines that these projects are on. I'd like to be on those calls with you and Andy as well, just to demonstrate that we're committed, and I'm committed to improving those communication lines with you, Delegate Newton. And so we can certainly start that and provide those updates necessary to you. So thank you, Chairman Nez.
Thank you, Dr. Yellowman. Unless if you have any other questions, honorable members of RDC.
Chairman Freeland again.
Honorable Freeland, go ahead.
So thank you for that response, man. Call. I wanted to comment regarding the special election. And first was mid-June. The state from the position reevaluate our
Freeland.
Position. Yeah.
You're breaking up.
Okay, I'm sorry. Is this better?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I just wanted to let everyone know, my colleagues, RDC, and all of our colleagues on the line, as well as Dr. Yellowman, and of course, Mr. Chaco, thank you for the response. It was noted that the state will be coming back after 90 days to reevaluate our current position on all of our projects. Now, I don't know if that means they're going to start looking at reversion, start refreezing our projects. But what we need to do is expend even up to 5% and tie up these projects. If there's a way, a mechanism, and I did bring up the capital outlay match fund, how can we just start spending even up to 5% of these amounts of monies that we have? And I did see some 16 projects and some 17 projects on the list. Those are probably the ones that are in most need, or the situation is dire right now for those. So they're going to go to all the projects. But if we can tie them up somehow, I did speak to Representative Johnson earlier today too on another matter, but I did talk to her, and she is talking to our chapters as well. But even if we can look at figure out a way, and I know Andy knows how to do this, is to expend 5% of those monies
and tie them up and let them know that they are encumbered. So that way they won't have to be reverted. But just a suggestion, comment, Idiot Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. I know you're very familiar with working with the state of New Mexico, the New Mexico IED, the nation here, and really putting yourself well dedicated to the New Mexico chapters and communities. So, yeah, Honorable Freeland, I think what bandit insto representatives done linishing sato jidahron. So thank you, Honorable Freeland. Any other questions or comments from RDC? None. We'll go ahead and
Chair, this is Daniel.
Honorable Daniels, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Adonana Kodo, RDC members, Kodo, Adonana Kodo, the Division of Community Development, Niche, Kodo, Kodo, Dr. Yellowman, Kodo, Nada Niche, Kodo, for giving a report to RDC update, Kodo, Adonana Kodo, talking about New Mexico projects, Adonana Kodo, Mr. Freeland, Kodo, Delegate Freeland, I see Kodo, New Mexico, how they function. Adonana, same as with Utah. All the states they're different. For example, Utah, we have projects. We work with Utah Navajo Trust Fund, Adonana, Navajo Revitalization Board, the Adrian Base, along with Navajo Utah Commission, so we have those projects. Utah projects. I don't know with New Mexico, it's only state Mexico. So I appreciate the report. What about that? DCD. I nice Ms. Yellowman, Mr. Atakai, all the workers there in community development. I know our reservation is it's a big area, 27,000 square miles. That's a big area. Our reservation is about the size of the state of West Virginia. I know that you can't be everywhere at one time. I don't know. New Mexico, tribal liaisons. I don't know if there's one. I know it used to be Mr. Lawrence John. I don't know if they replaced him. I don't know if they have another person in there. So I don't know if my colleague, Delegate Freeland, Dr. Freeland, so other than that, I don't have any questions. Just that question about New Mexico. I see PCD. I don't know with Arizona and Utah as well. So Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Dr. Yellowman.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't hear Shana, Delegate Herman Daniels. And we're thankful for your support and all of the chapters as well in Utah. We do maintain communication. Mr. Lawrence's position has not been filled or has not been announced. Maybe perhaps they're working on that. We did have a meeting last week, and Mr. Edekai was on the phone today with Chandler, and to our knowledge, the position has not been announced as to it being filled. We'll keep everyone updated when we hear of it as well. Thank you.
Chair,
thank you, Dr.
follow-up.
Follow-up, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and also Ms. Yellen for responding. And I believe this position here as a tribal liaison is very important. For example, in Utah, we have Utah Indian Affairs, the director, Justin Jensen, tribal liaison, for example, public safety, and appointed. She works closely with our Navajo Nation. So it's very important. So filling this position as soon as possible would be great. We'll work on this. That needs to fill this position. So Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Dr. Yellowman.
Thank you, Chairman and Adonana Delegate Daniels. That's very true. We have gotten to know Miss Anna Boynton over the last few months during the pandemic, and we know that the state of Utah was very busy during the pandemic, but Miss Boynton was very responsive, and we tried to maintain being responsive as well and tried to reciprocate that. Mr. Adekai was also in communication with her, and she was very helpful in communicating with us state efforts. And also Mr. Dustin, we did visit a few times on the call, but we're very thankful for their leadership and their communication as well in assisting us in reaching out to the Utah chapters as well. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yellowman. Honorable Wilson Stewart.
Oh, yeah, this not those, not kid, those is and my as a kid, Otto and the Dr. Yellowman on staff, and then again, Otto could also, it's not he job, baggy. I guess that my concern or my recommendation again goes back to the communication between the division, Dr. Yellowman, the chapters, and knowing that looking at this report, he's Shannon, he's an Eli, given Mr. Freeland for the TIF and also for the chapters senior centers again. That we know that the chapters again they have their own application process as well. And they ask for various documents. You as a division, you are supposed to format these forms, applications of EGIDA, and then send it down, is my interpretation. Out of chapters, they go and add in all these other documents again. So I think that needs to be communicated back down to the chapters, just to use one uniform form to get all those documents in. And I know that I've been participating in the agency calls and updates also with Mr. Thomas and also with Ms. Begay. And, these forms, I think they need to be done in that manner. And I think that way we can streamline all this stuff, projects for the community members and make it easier for them to apply and qualify. I thought looking at this spreadsheet that was given to us, it's not the majority for the ones I'm looking at for under the Fortive Heights agency. It's either a temp planner that was hired to move along the process. There's a payment waiting at OOC or wherever to be paid out. And, these are things I think the chapter officials, they're elected in there to assist these chapter managers, coordinators to move along this process. I don't know if that's right or if that's wrong, but that's the way I see it. So they should be there. assisting the chapter managers and working with them as a team to make sure that these things get done. And that's where I think it's at. That's just what I wanted to share, Shana. Thank you. And again, Dr. Yeoman, thank you for all the work that you do and your staff.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Dr. Yeoman.
Thank you, Chairman. Delegate Stewart, thank you for your support and your questions and comments. And that is the goal. Our goal is to make things to condense. There's a lot of paperwork, and that's what I was referring to earlier. That Mr. Adekai is having to readdress the infrastructure language, which are the forms and those contracts, and that's what has opened the door for us to work with DOJ, so that these forms and the process can be simplified and streamlined, and even utilizing technology. So we want to move in that way, or in that direction. That takes a tremendous amount of time for Mr. Adekai to address that, along with meeting regularly with DOJ. If you recall last year, when we just introduced the form change for citizen and the amount of back and forth review, that became complicated in itself. And that was just to change one form. And so now to kind of address all the different types of forms. That's why it's really important for us to work closely with Lands Department and Division of Natural Resource for those early forms of the clearances, and to see the one-stop shop come into play. There's quite a bit of coordinated efforts that need to happen here. And if I'll Chairman.
So what was the outcome of the meeting?
Please
they passed that resolution that Paul.
Please, Paul.
I kind of got on there late because I didn't know about it.
Please put
until,
your phones on mute.
Angie texted me, and I was on my Skype meeting with my work. So.
Melinda, would you put that person on mute, please?
Wait till I'm done with my Skype meeting, then I called in.
Thank you.
I got called in. I called in just at the last minute to have them give me a chance to make some comments. But I think they passed that resolution, forwarded on to the next committee, and they want to have
phone on mute.
I think they call it a work session with DOJ.
Mr. Williams, your phone on mute.
I think like next week or the week after that.
On mute.
And
Put your text over there.
Find out and let me know. Was Hank there as well?
I'm not sure. I kind of had problems calling in. Finally, I called in, and then I muted.
Mr. Williams, put your phone on mute. Thank you. Thank you, Melinda. Dr. Yeoman, go ahead.
Okay, we'll wrap this up here, but I just want to share that if you recall, Chairman, is last week just being on the call regarding a cemetery change that required a form, and the holdup was 7 or 8 years trying to adjust this particular cemetery. So it really is important that we review all of these types of documents that exist, and even put on the table some type of a major overhaul, which is the one-stop shop concept. So we're really looking forward to that becoming a reality. We're looking forward to some of these early phases of those clearances being streamlined, and then the communications to the chapters. and I also want to share, Delegate Stewart, that I really do encourage CPMD and ASC to work together, all the departments, to break out of those silos. Many times, it's easy to say that our departments don't work together or work separately or work in silos, but I really do encourage the leadership of Ms. Jim Martin and Mr. Adekai to have staff work collaboratively together. And that's probably why CPMD and ASC are in the same division, because they really do work hand in hand. And most recently too, we really need to work closely with the Lands Department. The Lands Department early on is what set off all of these projects. So once we get those communications going with the Lands Department on those early clearances, that puts into motion our ability to move forward. And then as we shared earlier, we really work with multiple divisions and departments, and we are also needing to be connected with OMB. OMB is the department that puts those business unit numbers in motion, and then OC is the department that pays those vendors. So we have some mending and repairing to do with some of the vendors that have a delayed payment, and it could be just overload so those mechanisms do need to be in place. So I agree. Thank you, Delegate Stewart.
Thank you, Dr. Yellowman. Nanda, any other questions, comments? None?
Chairman Nance, Delegate Brown.
Delegate Brown, go right ahead, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Shananta and Resource and Development Committee. I also have Kayenta chapter online right now. They're listening to this conversation. And one question I have to Dr. Yellowman from your department, Community Development, is as far as I know we are having different conversation, but interesting question that was just posed from Kayenta chapter. What do we do, or your recommendations? I know school students for buses and for schools take precedence, but what is your response or protocol for people buying vehicles and other non-school related? If you can enlighten us, so my chapter officials and if they can hear a response, I would appreciate that. Yeah.
Dr. Yellowman?
Thank you, Chairman. He had Delegate Brown. Just make sure I understand the question. There was parts of it I caught. But what are my thoughts on the proof of residency that someone may have to show? And then I heard something about students and a vehicle. Maybe, Chairman, as if Delegate Brown can repeat his question.
Honorable Brown?
Yes. Delegate Chairman Nance. My question is, what is through your department, Community Development, being the oversight over chapters, what is your procedure, protocol for when our Navajo people are asking through the chapters their process of proof of residency? You know how our people, when they are enrolling their kids for bus routes, etc., they're asked to request for proof of residency from the chapter. And what is there like a certain amount of days that they should be open? I know some of our Navajo people, when they travel to chapters, they're turned away. And then the other one is it only for school that it is allowed right now? What about those are people who are requesting proof of residency when they're buying vehicles, mobile homes, etc.? Yeah.
Dr. Yellowman? Dr. Yellowman?
Thank you. Thank you, Delegate Brown. I do know that that has recently come up, and I know that some of our residents and chapters have been requesting information on that. And I believe even Delegate Kealan Begay brought that up just a few weeks ago. And our chapters do provide the residency verification, and the chapters can assist with guiding during these times. I know some of the chapters have recently closed, or not closed, but have been closed to public gatherings. But I guess the response really is, one is clarification from DOJ. I do work with Rod Begay, and Rod Begay does assist us. And I do know that the chapters do provide assistance on some of those verifications. And I do know that the schools do require that, and for especially enrollment for like Head Start. And so I'm just trying to make sure I come to the right proper language here for. So what I understand is that the responsibility really is within the chapter administration, and also to provide and to refer families and individuals to the chapter administration. So it is part of the chapter administration to assist in providing those regulations. And I do know that we work closely with our rural addressing as well to assist in those process of providing verification. We do need to work closely with our chapters and ASC in providing those trainings so that we could assist community members and families when they're seeking those services. So thank you, Delegate Brown.
Chairman?
Yes, follow up?
Yes. If Dr. Yellowman, Chairman and Dr. Yellowman, if I can get that in writing, if you can email that from either DOJ, Mr. Begay's office, or yourself, so we can have that in place. Right now, there's there are confusion on what takes precedence and priority. I believe that students can, since chapters are working on it, staff